How's everybody doing?
Yeah, good.
Thank you all so much for coming. I'm very honored to be moderating this panel. This is my first time moderating a panel. Yeah. So, thank you. As you can tell, or probably not, I'm nervous, but it will be fine. And yeah, let's enjoy ourselves. So this panel is about NFTs, DAOs, DeFi, and the opportunities that it brings. And as you've heard your bio, very, very interesting people. Don't worry, I stalked you guys throughout yesterday and some previous days. And yeah, I know what you people's favorite food is. So I'm going to ask the first question, Anthony. You've been writing for a couple of years. You transitioned into creating art. And I like this statement on your website. It says, in March 2021, Anthony joined the crypto art community and it changed his life. But prior to that, in 2020, you had the Red Man that blew up. And this sort of gave you some direction into how, how you wanted to improve your art or like uplift this vision that you had. How has it been? How has your journey been? And what are some of the opportunities that you've seen in NFTs and Web3?
Okay, yeah, I mean, when the Red Man happened, it kind of took my whole world by storm because it's like you're kind of doing one thing and you're used to that one thing. And then one day, millions of people are like, yeah, they're telling you things. And it took me a long time to kind of get used to it. Then a year later with NFTs, what happened was this man, he DM'd me on Instagram and he said, look, I have this idea for you. It's about crypto art and blockchain. And I told him, like, bro, I don't have money for this. Like, I'm not into all this, you guys, internet money. It's not my vibe. But he was very insistent that this is something that could help me, help my work, and further my craft. So last year, I minted my first collection with them. And I remember that was more money than ever seen in the 5-6 years I've been working as a visual artist. And I was like, okay, you guys are onto something here. Let me see what's happening. And I think months after months, it took me a while to like just experiment and see. And where it's led to here, where a year later, it's really, really impacted my life, with NFTs, crypto, DAOs, DeFi, and that whole world like that's around it. So yeah, it's definitely been a big, big shift.
And you sold it for $20,000.
Yeah, I think the Red Man, it took us a while. It took me a while to sell that painting, but I think it was sold last year for $25,500, so we're happy.
I think that deserves the round of applause.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So we know how customers are when it comes to payments and all. They want their money now. They want to be answered now. And I'm going to go over to you, Dahunsi. You've been part of Busha for over 2 years. How does it feel leading support, catering to over 200,000 verified users or customers? And what has your experience been like handling support with a platform like Busha that prides themselves for having 24 hours human support?
Thank you, Fisayo. First off, I've been with Busha for over 3 years. Oh, wow. So practically since launch. And it's a bit terrifying sometimes when you know that you're responsible for over 200,000 customers. And what if there's an issue that occurs that affects every single customer and then they have to come all at once to demand a resolution at that time? We weren't always this big. When we started in 2019, we had maybe less than 100 customers. And it was easy at that time because you can attend to 100 customers. Obviously, not everyone will have an issue at the same time, but you can attend to them really easily. But with our expansion and having way more customers, we have way more people in support now, so we can cater to all of those customers if there's an issue. It's not like there's always an issue, that's not what I'm saying, but if an issue should arise, we have the support staff to cover it. And we're all trained, we all have the knowledge to attend to every issue that a customer might have. A scenario that comes to mind was when CBN recently banned banks trading crypto in January, February last year. And then there are a lot of customers that couldn't get their fiat out of the app. That's Naira. And then there were a lot of customers coming into make a complaint about that and all of that. So the first thing to do is to calm the customer down and assure them that, we are aware of the situation and then we're looking for ways to resolve it, which we were doing. And then we did have resolutions for them at that time. It took a few days or even, I think, a week plus to get resolution to their issue. But then we went back to the drawing board, figured out what to do. Good for us, we already had a P2P platform on our app, so it was quite easy to just figure out how to reroute those transactions to P2P, and then that solved it. So there have been really other instances like that where we've been able to solve, in our team.
Interesting. I want to go to my left side. Ruth, good to have you here.
Thank you.
As someone who runs a cryptocurrency exchange, I read that you first started in 2017 as a P2P exchange service, and then you've grown it into a platform. How has your experience been like managing an exchange targeted at this market, and what has the feedback been like from customers?
Okay. So Bitmama didn't really start in 2017. So
2019.
Yeah. So 2017 was basically only me trying to I had vision and trying to set everything up and trying to also get all the much needed help that I could get. Then the first site was actually a WordPress website. I'm still looking for that site online till today. It was basically only me. So when people come and just do an order, then I just attend to the order behind. But with the growth and getting to this point and still scaling for the future, it has been challenging, right? But one thing I would say is I'm an optimistic person. So sometimes when the chips are down, it is very easy for you to give up. But you have to just tell yourself the truth and keep going. In crypto, we're still saying that it's still early, it's still morning, and the more you keep building and growing, even in the African space, even when back then in 2017, what we used to do then is we'll be creating all these what do you call it? Meetups. Yeah. So maybe we'll have something like 20 people in each meetup at different locations, traveling to different places, trying to get everybody to know what blockchain and crypto is about, right? So, I would say the most important thing is, not giving up. It's challenging both technically, both business-wise, both mentally, everything. So you just need to get everything right, get the right support, and hopefully you'll be able to scale. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you very much. And I want to ask you as well about your journey. I know you've been involved in two very interesting startups, projects, Xend and Ycrypt. How has your own journey been like as well?
Okay, so I think I would go back to 2016 when I got into the crypto space or the blockchain space. So I basically got in as a builder, not necessarily buying and selling of crypto. So at the time, I started working on this wallet service to learn, because I was really interested in how the blockchain really worked. I wasn't interested in, coins and everything. I was just really interested in how does this technology work. So the best way to actually learn was to build my own, right? So I started working on, my own blockchain infrastructure. I'm building out a wallet. Then it was a Bitcoin wallet. I called it Switch Wallet. It was in 2016. So it was one of my colleagues, I think he's here, he was in Finland at the time, that told me I should check out this whole crypto thing, that he thinks is something I'll like. So I started working on the wallet then. So I finished the wallet sometime in 2017 and then did a small meetup. But I'm based in Enugu State, so all these things were happening there. So I had a small tech meetup then, demoed the wallet. I mean, people didn't really know what I was talking about, but it was working. I did a hackathon then where I offered, I think it's still on my Instagram, where I offered $1,000 for anybody that could hack the wallet and get like private keys. Well, nobody could, So I felt really happy about it. But one thing that pissed me off then was, like a couple of months later, I heard Binance purchase a wallet service called Trust Wallet, and they do exactly the same thing, right? And I felt bad because I was like, maybe I would have spoken out more. Because then I was just build and just keep quiet, I was like, okay, maybe I would have spoken out more. But, well, fast forward since then, I've just been building, like things at that low level to understand how the system works, because it gives you like very like serious control over the entire tech. So the journey has just been creating different like infrastructures. Something like Y-Crypt, we actually started in 2018. It was just, like every other day at the office having internet problems, and I was trying to connect to people's Wi-Fi, and they were like, oh, I won't give you access to my Wi-Fi, man. That you just consume the thing and I won't know how much you spent. And I'm like, okay, what if maybe we could create a system that will give me the power to connect to your internet? When I connect to it, you might not know I'm connected, but it will be charging me in real time, right? So it was just felt like, and I said, okay, let me just try it out, right? But at that point, I also realized that there were a lot of challenges, because you also still had to go down to the lowest point of like having to build an internet protocol, having to understand how all these things work. So it was really challenging then building the tech. You had to do the hardware, build an operating system on top of it. I think it took me about 7 months to build, and I was working on it alone then, because nobody in the office wanted to talk to me when I was telling them about, so they were like, no. But I enjoy doing those kind of things, right? So that's how we started, and, we got grants, even got support from the NCC. We got backing. I was really surprised, blockchain, and all, and they've been very supportive, since then. Then, like 2019, 2020, worked on Xend, especially during the COVID period. It was really bad, and people trying to access money and everything. And I've been building on the blockchain for some time, and the whole DeFi thing was just, popping up then. People were just making noise about DeFi, and I was like, I've been working on this stuff for years, but now, the buzz is there. But not looking at the buzz, I realized that this could actually play a vital role in solving problems for us in Africa, right? So what I started doing was to just work on the design, fleshed out the basic infrastructure for it, and when it worked, I shared with a couple of my colleagues. We now started building some other things around it, like, a web app and all that around the core system. And we got, we got investments from Binance, Polygon, all these guys. It was really, really interesting being able to see that support. And then I also realized in future that, look, this thing is way just beyond, just creating an app. So one thing we've continuously done, even since then, till now, is improving the core layer. For example, you see so many apps come up with maybe that they are, you can earn yields on the apps, which is great, right? But what we've actually done is we built the system that those guys leverage. For example, when people want to give yields on their applications, they look for maybe existing protocols to connect to, which might not constantly give them those high yields over time. But what our system does at the lowest level is leveraging multiple protocols, and we actually work with finance people. We create strategies, and then we program the strategies into smart contracts that allow you to earn yields, even in very bad markets. For example, now the crypto market is that a lot of people are like, hey, when you check out yields, you might be seeing things like 3%, 4% on your investments in stable crypto. But we actually have a strategy that we've built, and it's actually being tested, that you can get over 12%, and it's the best in the market, globally. And because of some of this, our the growth in the core technology part, we've gotten, some accolades, and gotten into things like something called Binance MVP, where they pick only the best technologies in crypto in the world. And Xend Finance actually made that. That was last month. So we're the only African company in the world selected out of over 450 companies. They selected 18. So it's been very, very challenging. It requires a lot of patience. And one other very difficult thing is managing people. So one thing I love about the journey so far is just that we try to build everything like from where we started, which is Enugu. We manage like over 150 employees, about 80 are engineers. 80% of those people are based in Enugu. Most people don't see them, you don't know them, right? But I'm super excited about what we've done over the years, which is not just building products, but building people, right? It's very difficult to build people, especially like engineers. It's hard to keep them. But because of our constant like growth and advancement in the tech, which is something that they love, it's not always about just money, you know. It also helps them just to continuously be around and to develop. But yeah, I think that has been the journey, well, from inception, you know, till now. And we do a lot of R&D. We even make like games and all that. Like, it's a very fun thing that we've been doing over time. But yeah, that's been the journey. And yeah, it's been a very, well, patient one as well, because these things take time. But yeah, I think it's expensive.
I think it deserves a round of applause. I do have a follow-up question for you. I know that there was, we did an interview once, and we talked about Ycrypt.
Yeah.
Can you give a summary of, just a very, very short summary of what Ycrypt is and how it works?
Okay, so, all right. I'll try to keep it as simple as I can. So what Ycrypt does is, you have your Wi-Fi device, a Ycrypt Wi-Fi device, and you can configure it any way you want. You can add a sort of billing system to it where anybody connecting to that current Wi-Fi is going to be paying you in real time. And the good thing about the Wi-Fi service is that it works anywhere in the world. So our devices can work anywhere in the world. We have people in the United States. I think I set up a couple of devices there a couple of weeks ago. And we have devices in the US, we have in the UK, we have in Dubai, in different parts of the world, right? So, and it works with any existing internet service provider. So what we've done is we scale existing ISPs, like maybe like MTN, Glo, or whatever. You can use our device, maybe go to a remote area, and as long as you can connect internet to it, you can even use like Starlink. When you connect like a Starlink to our device, it now acts as a distribution medium. And while you do that, one of the things we started doing was we incentivize people with our native cryptocurrency. So we have our own native cryptocurrency called WNT, Ycrypt Network Tokens. So it's a way of building a larger network where people can mine our tokens as rewards while they distribute the internet, or they make adoption, you know, of like internet very large, especially in remote areas of the world. Yeah, so that's part of it. But another thing is businesses, small businesses, coffee shops, you can customize your device to even collect data from customers. Let's say you want to ask them about maybe your performance and everything. You have that liberty to do that. You customize your interface, put in your logos, whatever you want. People come, they connect easily, right, while they use your service. And we have like advertisements, a lot of things. And we were able to achieve all this because, you know, having control of the entire technology stack, you can do almost anything. Some of the things we're working on now is being able to even increase like memory capacity. Say, for example, the devices can act as a small computer where you can, because I don't know if people are familiar with something called Filecoin or IPFS, Interplanetary File Systems. They pay you for providing storage space. So one of the things we're doing at the operating system level is to be able to build on that protocol. You can even plug like a sort of hard disk to your router, and you can provide storage space. Well, all the data is encrypted, and while you're doing that, you're also earning Filecoins, right? While you're doing that. So, I mean, it's giving us freedom to build, you know, across so many spaces. But yeah, that's basically what.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to ask you, what advice would you give people now looking to start out in, you know, the DeFi space? Especially women, like, what advice would you give on starting out? What advice would you give on funding? And what are the opportunities that exist?
Okay. First advice I would give is just start. No matter what you're doing or no matter what your idea is, just start. And two, like, you need to also find that niche. So, like, on this group, yeah, we all do different things, but still we're all in the whole umbrella of Web3 and DeFi startups. But in the case of funding, this is like a very tricky question, especially when it comes to women. So most times, other female founders I meet, I tell them, please don't be always categorizing yourself as female founder. The funding is for everybody. Go and get it. You understand? When an investor is talking to you and they say, oh, female founder, no, you know your stuff. You know what you're doing. You may even be smarter than the person they are giving $1 million to. So you go and prove yourself. Don't quote and say, I'm a female founder. Then you go and form one small group and somebody will come and give you $5,000 for 17% of your company. It's ridiculous. Or they'll be doing female founder competition and they'll say, oh, the woman that wins now will give that person $5,000. But meanwhile, when they are doing normal competition, the person that wins, they will give the person $500,000. And you know it's not going to be a woman. So what I'll just say is you just need to fight and play in the space, whether we like it or not. Yeah. So I don't see myself as I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a founder that happens to be a female or a woman, not the other way around. Okay, yeah, not the other way around. So I don't know. My marketing person is eyeing me. I want to say something, but she's like, don't say it. So, okay, so I won't say it. So I'll wait until you guys see it in the news. But I'm just saying, just keep on going forward and don't always put yourself in the box or categorize yourself. I know there are some female-led funds and all that. Okay, it's fine. It's okay. Maybe for some people that feel that they can't speak up. But once you can speak up, you know your stuff. Like, I've even had stories of when sometimes we're talking to investors and they'll be looking at me like, are you sure she's the CEO? And they'll be like, yeah, she's the CEO. So it's until they hear me speak and they'll be like, oh, sometimes they just kind of stay humble and be like, oh, she really knew what she was talking about or she knows what's going on. So please, let's not be putting ourselves in that box. The all-female initiative is good, but it starts from the family, right? I always tell people like that. So I was opportune to grow up in a family where you don't tell anybody shut up in the house. Everybody gets to express themselves. So even though I'm older and I have my younger ones, I don't get to tell them shut up. So if I do, like there's a punishment in the house. So that way everybody gets to express themselves. So that's helped me also grow. And we did not have like roles to say, okay, you're a woman, so you must wash plates. Or you're this, you must do that. So most times when I see other female founders also coming up, I notice that they want to do those things that they think are female roles, or want to give out loans to females, or want to give out this to market women. Sometimes I ask myself, I don't know market men. Can't you give loans to market men? You understand? Or are there no people in Alaba market? Can't you give them loan? Must you go to those ones selling crayfish and saying, I am giving loan to market women? You understand? And that way, we already just put ourselves in a box, and society keeps seeing it that way, and everybody keeps seeing it that way, and it continues growing that way. And investors will then come and say, okay, there's a subset that people are not funding. Let me go and fund that small women-led space. So wow. Please, you're a founder that happens to be a woman. You're an entrepreneur that happens to be a woman. There are market men and market women. In blockchain, there are men and there are women. And sometimes I'm not even happy that, like, I was even telling my teammates, I was like, oh, another year has come, and we are still the only female-led blockchain startup here. It's not really nice. Though I'm not an investor, hopefully, once I get to that point, I can be able to also fund others to be able to come out here.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I think your question was on DeFi, right?
What?
On DeFi. What you asked her?
No, just general advice. How to get started. What should you know?
DeFi. right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention something because that question is a regular thing where people always come and like, oh, maybe how do you get started in this space? My advice usually to most people, and from advice that I've also gotten from like investors and advisors, right, is if you're getting started in the DeFi space, it's better to, if you have engineering skills, it's better to start in that space. If you do not, it's better to get that skill. But if you're not interested, maybe if you're interested in maybe like marketing and other parts, you can start up with an existing startup or an existing business to learn, right? But if you really want to do things on your own, it's mostly better to start with, the engineering space. Also, there are like people who studied economics, right? Economics is really important already, or if you're already in finance, maybe people who work in banks. There are some guys, I don't know if you guys are familiar with things called tokenomics and all those things, right? That thing is a very critical part of any blockchain startup. I can tell you it's very easy for people to mess it up, right? And people who have experience in economics and finance are paid top dollar to build very sustainable tokenomics. Most times we have, like, I know how much we paid some guys in what was the, I think they're in Poland, really brilliant people. They work for Delphi Digital. So some other projects that we were advising and also working on. Pay them a lot of money, right? And they created very brilliant models for us. And I took those models, right? And I was like, look, I believe some people who study economics, after reading through it, I got what they did. But I was like, people who study economics and finance can easily come up with things like this. So there are like careers around DeFi that don't necessarily have to be centered around writing code or marketing, buying and selling of crypto. People who study finance, economics should study deeply into tokenomics, financial modeling of crypto companies. And you would see that a lot of money is in that space. So a lot of people most times just think it's the, things that are always like noisy, like that are always in the news. Then finally, on funding, again, if you want to get funding, right? She spoke really well about the female part. I love what she said because you get that thing a lot where people always want to have that special treatment. It's not so great, right? But in terms of funding, always have a product. We also invest in companies, but it's not like we're a VC or anything. We write some checks and all that to support people. And I've seen over time, a lot of people have sent me pitch decks and said, oh, Ugo, can you also, maybe also send it to some of your investors or advisors? And I really do, right? And after sending it to some of them, I think 2 I've sent out to like the Polygon guys. One of the response I got them was that, Ugo, this thing is too simple. Nobody's going to invest in this because it's not really breaking any grounds in terms of technology. In the blockchain space, if you want to build as much as possible, it's not like you just try to confuse people with big terms, but think of how to build things that leverage deep tech or you can have control as much as possible. Because it's still at the very early stages, like she said, right? Crypto is still very early. You don't expect people to just do things that any other person can do and receive funding. It will not work. People will most likely not invest. Some people will just be, oh, I have an idea. I want to build a farm on the blockchain. It won't work. You want to just create and list farms, and you want people to invest a lot of money. It will not work, right? Maybe you can get a few people who don't understand, but there has to be work. And if you look at some high-flying, even the one that people are insulting now, like the UST, and Terra. I mean, I don't know the guy, but those guys did a fantastic job in building a very good system. Yeah, it failed. It's an experiment. But then the tech is top-notch. But the problem is that most people, especially people from around here, unfortunately, want to get it done quickly. It doesn't work. And these people that have the money to invest, a lot of them are not here. So you need to do what they understand, not because you just want to please them, but because that is what the industry needs at this time. You can imagine electricity, how much it has evolved, right, since Nikola Tesla and Edison, DC, AC wars. Imagine if at the time you were just maybe pitching something like, maybe at that time you say, I want to do maybe a rechargeable lantern, or I'm thinking of something that is, or maybe just a glowing bulb that has different colors. At that point, the people were trying to see how do we move electricity from maybe Lagos to Enugu or Lagos to one other very far place, and you're bringing something that is, sort of negligible or insignificant at that time, nobody's going to fund you, right? Okay. So we, at this point where the blockchain space, we are in the blockchain space, a lot of cool things can just come and go. Like maybe you just, like, when pictures, and all those kind of things, where people just make quick cash. At times it works, but not every time. If you really want something that will stand the test of time, you need to double down on the work and really figure out what exactly you're building and what problem is going to solve for the entire ecosystem. If you don't have that kind of patience, then you should look for something else. I just wanted to add that.
So I think in summary, like she said, you should just start. If you are thinking of starting in DeFi, just go ahead and start. And don't put yourself in a box. Don't build your product in a box. And if you are thinking of starting, get the relevant technical skills, get the relevant economics or finance skills. And let me quickly move on to like NFTs and Web3s now. To you, Anthony, the NFT and Web3 space is giving power to creators compared to Web2 platforms. We all know that Web2 platforms, especially for creators, they have a higher take rate than the Web3 platforms, where you can get as much as 90% of your your worth in terms of what you create. What are some ways artists stand to benefit from NFTs, in your own opinion now? Just focusing on the benefits.
Okay, just on the benefits. I feel like art has come a long way. And to understand it, you kind of find that with NFTs came at a very crucial part when it comes to artists, where you have a painting like the Mona Lisa, for instance, is special for many things. Like, okay, it's a great painting. But the most important thing about that painting is that you go across the universe from this planet to that planet, and there's only one Mona Lisa painting by Da Vinci. You've proved your scarcity, you've proved your provenance. You know where it is, and there's only one of it. With digital artists coming 200, 300 years after, sure, I have the clearest version of the painting, but so anyone with a printer and a scanner can get the exact quality in 5 minutes. Like, it's not that deep. I'm the first person that posted it, but the first person that posted that painting, maybe he took it down. So how then do we prove ownership? And for NFT artists or people, who paint and we put work on the NFTs, it allows me as a digital artist to be able to prove those things once again. Now on the blockchain, I can tell you that, look, on this day, I put this painting here, and when I sell it, you have that value because you still have that same scarcity that we have before with traditional art. And so for NFT artists, I feel like for me, that's the main thing, because when you look at all these big sales with all these great auction houses from Sotheby's to Christie's, you find that what happens is you see all these headlines. The painting was sold for $500,000. But I'll tell you something. When those paintings are sold, the artists, the original artists, they don't get money from that because it's a secondary sale. And with NFTs, one thing that I really loved was inbuilt into the smart contract, from now to the day I die, 10% always, 15% always. Royalties are important to me. Ownership of my work is important to me. If I die, what are my children going to get? Or I don't want to see their father's painting sold for 1 million, and then, everybody knows that it's you, but it's like there's nothing else. So it's a very painful thing that artists have had to endure for many, many years. And NFTs came to me at that time, or came to the world at this time where it's like, okay, enough. This system isn't working for us. And so, the benefit for me just includes ownership, being able to do these things that I couldn't have been doing before as a digital artist. I don't paint with canvases. I just don't have the energy for it. Painting digital is what I work with. And it presents a field that digital artists can now flourish in the same way you would as, a traditional artist from old. And then you enter other use cases for NFTs in terms of, in Lagos, for instance, it's a very horrible land problem where you may buy land today, and what happens is that someone sees that same land and then decides to resell it. And because Lagos doesn't keep data in a very proper way, this thing keeps happening, and there's land disputes that end up going for tens and tens of years, where your children end up fighting the same battles that you were fighting before. And with NFTs, it's like, imagine if there's this whole ledger of data where we know, okay, look, in 2002, he bought this land from this person for this much. Now I want to buy it, I buy it from this person, and it keeps going like that. So it provides to me this very, very accurate, very unchangeable sea of data that's very necessary in this digital world we're going in. Like the Red Man painting, for instance, has been shared 1 million times, over 1 million times, millions of times now, and it's like, who owns the one true version? You know, that's a very deep question for me. I painted it digitally. There's no one true Red Man in my house. So who owns it? And it's now like with the blockchain and NFTs, that gives me, you know, a kind of answer where it's like, okay, that's where it is. Because like I said, clarity, me having the clearest version is nothing. Me being the first one to post it is nothing. The digital world is one that can be photoshopped, faked, deep faked. There's too much of false information out there. And I feel like NFTs do that for me. They present provenance, scarcity, and more so ownership. That 10% royalty is important. $500,000 and then you're getting nothing is painful to me. So for me, that's the best use case I have for NFTs for the artists.
Okay, interesting. And also accountability when it comes to that ledger system that you mentioned.
You need it. Like, bro, like, for instance, like, a lot of our popular paintings, for instance, the Mona Lisa has been stolen lots of times. Like, and sometimes it's just stolen and nobody can find it. Nobody knows where these things are. There are huge, huge paintings that are sitting in private collectors that nobody knows where they are. The families of the artists don't know where they are. And it presents this huge pain of how many masterpieces do we even know about? How many of these great works of art by African artists, by Nigerian artists, are we even aware of? Because they've either been stolen, plagiarized, they've been put here. And it's very, very important because as time goes on, we need to have an accurate measure, an accurate account of where our works of culture are. Because if there's not, if we don't have that, then who are we as a people? Who are we as a, as a country? So it's very, very important to me.
Okay, so I want to just wrap up this session by asking both of you now. For you, what is a challenge that you faced in this, time span of creating digital art and the NFT space? And for you as well, like when it comes to downtimes and customer complaints, like how have you navigated that? So you can go first.
All right, thank you. So when it comes to downtimes, basically what I explained earlier, you have to calm the customers down because what they really want is an explanation as to what has happened, right? So you have to provide that explanation. And haven't done that, you have to provide them with a way to resolve it, a way forward. Every customer just wants their money. At the end of the day, customers are the same all over the world. They want their money, they want what is theirs, and they have a right to what is theirs, right? So you have to find a way to explain the situation to them and then provide a solution. The solution might not be instant, but so far as they know that you are working actively on it and then they'll definitely get one, they are going to be at ease and then everything.
Is the customer always right, though?
Really, to make everyone happy, yeah, customer is always right. But
well, are they always right?
There's a point where you have to educate some customers. They might be wrong about some things. They might be right in that their anger or whatever, right? But they might not have enough information, right? So they might not be absolutely right all the time.
So in terms of navigating like the downtimes now, the major problems, what is like a major takeaway for you? Or a major points that you state?
Sorry.
In terms of navigating downtimes, problems, challenges, like in case there's a failure now, or like something that is beyond your own control, how did you like come out ahead?
Yeah, so it's not. I will not always have the answer. Will not always lie with me, right? So my duty is to calm the customer down and tell them that we're working on it, and then escalate that issue to whoever it is that's going to solve it. It might be an engineering problem. It might be a marketing problem. It might be a problem with maybe a third-party provider, right? So I may not always have all the answers, but so far as I can calm the customer down, put them at ease, and then get the answer from whoever has it, well, it's going to be fine, yes.
Okay, on challenges, I guess the challenges I'm facing are the challenges everyone is facing, like, and that's why we're all here, because I feel like everyone has felt it or seen it or heard of it. The world we live in is now drastically changing faster and faster than ever. And for me, the greatest challenge is really just adapting to that because, just a year ago, NFTs, all that, and now, of course, with the market down, you explain other things. The main goal is adapting, being able to kind of, as much as you can, predict what the next few years are going to look like, which is a very, very hard thing in a world that changes every single second with decisions that are made above you. So yeah, I guess that's the greatest challenge, learning and adapting to this new world.
Awesome. And we have come to the end of this panel session. Thank you all so much for being very attentive. And thank you so much, panelists.
I think we can do better than that. I know you enjoy it more than you're clapping, so.